Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Strong podcast. This is episode 11 and also correlated week 11 of my marathon training. So again, the usual setup. I will be going back to that, a little quick recap of just how that is going for anyone that's following along. And also then I'm going to go through something that came up, conversations with a few clients about something as to why they're training and why they're in the gym and why they see themselves continuing on training in some capacity, um, and what they're doing it all for, really. So, some interesting conversations had around that topic as well, which I think might be uh, worthwhile for people to hear and just give people a different perspective on what training and the gym and exercise can give back, as well. So, but we'll start with the marathon recap. So this week was what we call a deload week, or a lesser kilometers run week. And the idea of this is that last few weeks I have built up to 28 kilometers. So I went 22, 4, 26, and 28. So a good build, and the idea then is to come down in the kilometers per week to give the body a chance at some recovery. And what should have been probably seen as an easy week on paper, because the kilometers and the work that I had to do was a lot less than previous weeks, actually ended up being a hard week because of all the fatigue that has built up in my legs and in the body. And it's not until you start going through this again, it's not, I haven't trained for marathon before, so you learn things along the way as you go. But definitely feeling the fatigue this week, and in the headspace as well as the legs. And the long run I had to do this week was only 16 kilometers in hindsight to compare to the other runs I was doing. But at 8 kilometers, I was ready to quit and stop. But like that, just kept going on through and got there in the end. But it just shows, and again, it gives me another appreciation for the marathon and the training and what it's, I suppose, the toll to an extent it takes on the body. But like that, once you're managing it as best as you can and not pushing past the red flags, and being clever and sensible with your training, you can continue on, and it's nothing, nothing that can't be managed. So, and then took a full weekend off training, no running, no anything, just a complete weekend off. And back to it now for the next, I suppose, stage of the last bit of a build. Um, it's 6 weeks or 6.5 weeks out now to the marathon. So I've only really got 4 good weeks of training left to build up to kind of the mid 30 kilometer mark, or mid 30s, uh, before kind of tapering in to the marathon. So um definitely lesson learned, and another, I suppose, as I said, perspective in what you're asking your body to do, absorb and try and recover from. So that's now the main focus, as well as I said all along, is the recovery, and not forgetting that aspect of training too. So um but overall, sessions got done. And like that, sometimes you just have to, the motto I kind of use, and you'll hear a lot of people use it, is put one foot in front of the other, and that's what it really just comes down to. Um, is literally mentally putting that one foot in front of the other, and eventually all those steps will add up and get you there in the end. So, um, deload week done, feeling good from having taken a few days off of running and training, and just letting the body recover, rest, absorb, as they say, the work that's been done. And then hopefully now going into the final block of a 4 week build up again, uh, that everything will be as smooth sailing as it can possibly be, because like that you're still expecting, things are not going to be easy. So hopefully the next 4 weeks go somewhat smoothly and to plan. And like that, I'm kind of going on a session on session or a week on week basis here, with how I'm feeling with that long run of the weekend being the priority. So everything else is kind of gears towards that and what I'm having to do. So yeah, that's a quick recap of the training. where I'm at with it. Deload week done. Wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. Was quite the opposite, but a good learning curve all the same, and realization of how hard, you know, training for a marathon is. And I think that does get kind of lost in, you see so many people out running and it's great, and you see people uh but they're chasing times and they're chasing these things, but they've lost the appreciation for the actual marathon per se. And I think that's the big thing I'll take from this, is the appreciation of what I've asked my legs and the body to do for the last, well, 3 months. It'll be going on 4 months by the time the marathon comes around, and the preceding months prior to that, because there was half marathons and everything as well. So it's definitely a process that you have to go through. Um, and I definitely have a newfound appreciation for the marathon and what you're actually asking your body to do, and the distance you're asking it to cover. 42K, it's hard to put your head around it until you have to go out and run, 20s, 30s Ks a week, kind of thing, and the time that it takes as well. Because like that, I'm running this just to complete it. So it's a relatively slow pace, and I'm fine with that. It's not for me about the paces. It's for me completing it. It's getting from A to B on that day as relatively well as I can. And again, that's always the focus of that one foot in front of the other to get there. So yeah, good. Another week done in the marathon training block series, and on to the next one. And hopefully, as I said, things will go according to plan week on week. So something that, as again, I suppose, conversations I've had with people and clients over the last week, I find sometimes week on week with clients and just within things in general, there's common themes that come up, and everyone maybe seemingly has the same thought process or whatever. Like, kind of pick out a common theme from clients or people that I talk to around training and exercise in the gym. And I suppose the one last week, or the last few conversations, I think, have been the value, seeing the value of what you're doing in the gym outside of the gym. So seeing the value of the training and the time and the exercises that you're doing in the gym, or within training just in general, and how like they like to see that correspond to something that they do outside of the gym and in their everyday life, kind of thing. So like that's just doing your everyday jobs, tasks, living your life, putting yourself in a better position if you want to go and achieve something or do something. Or like, I generally have clients who, and their team is nearly like kind of future proofing themselves, or keeping themselves independent uh for further down the line, and that they can keep doing things they're doing now, and even add to the things that they're doing now, to further down the line, that they can keep doing them. And like that, I have, say, clients who are great for walking, which is fantastic, just walking for the sake of walking. Don't be counting steps, and it's not a step count, and it's not a step goal. It's literally just from the enjoyment of walking and being outside. But like that, maybe they need some bit of work, some strengthening of upper body. That's still important, and mobility of shoulders and upper body and stuff. And kind of they see then that, yeah, that's actually a good idea to kind of link that into my walking and what I can do outside of the gym as well. It'll help and their health and their well-being. And again, this idea of future proofing themselves, uh, that they can continue to do the things they want to do as they age and as they get older. Another example is, I have a client who wants to be able to do a box jump, which is great. Is something that's a good achievement, to push for. Box jumps can be daunting. I don't like them, but they're a great thing, because they they can translate over to, you'll get more powerful, your balance is improving, your coordination is improving. It's a skill. It's a nice thing to try and see progress on each week. And you're and it's a bit of fun as well, that challenge too. So like, the training doesn't have to be so, so rigid all the time, or chasing scales and chasing numbers and stuff. It can be stuff that can uh, be reflective and kind of even just fun things to do that challenge people in different ways. And I suppose, and this is the question sometimes I ask, clients or even just anyone listening to this is like, what activities matter in your life, in your day to day, that maybe you want to keep doing, it can be things like getting in and out of the car easily, up and down stairs easily, being able to get out and do your shopping, do the gardening, hang clothes on a clothesline, stuff like that. It's the small little things that people take for granted that maybe in a few years' time might become a bit harder. But like that, if we keep a foundation of strength, coordination, balance, things like that there, uh, people can continue to live well. And like you know, and again, like why does that matter to you? Like, what's the value you see in being able to do that, or what does that mean to you that's outside of just, as I said, like a number on a scales, or a bigger picture, I suppose, and look. And and then, or another thing is people will have back issues and niggles and things like that, but like what are you actually doing to trying to improve that? Are you just going to hope that it gets better by itself, or are you actually going to try and do something about it to improve it and get yourself stronger in areas that need strengthening to allow the body to be able to take the demands you're asking it to do something in your day-to-day life? And like at the end of the day, it's people's responsibilities to look after themselves, and exercise and training is a big part of that, and probably the best tool you can use to do that. So, and that's how I like to reframe it to people when they start in the gym, or they're a beginner, or they're looking to get back into it, is making it more, I suppose, feasible in things that they're doing for their everyday life. Linking the gym work to that, linking the gym work to their everyday life brings better meaning to it and consistency to it. Because people can relate to it, then they can see the benefit of it in their everyday life. Like I think if you focus more on the strength, the movement, the health foundations first, everything else then can become a byproduct of that. So like if weight loss, fat loss, change of body composition is a goal, but if you have good foundations in place, those things then become far easier, and it's not a thing of you're just exercising to just do those things. There's other meaning to exercise, and there's other value to exercise and training. And I think if people can, as I said, relate that value, see that value in that time that they mightn't see straight away, but in a year or two's time, they could be so glad that they started. And that's when they start to see it, and that focus of, being capable, longevity now, and this, health is such a big topic now, I suppose, and it's becoming more and more people's goals, or orientated within people's goals, rather than just, I suppose, the aesthetic stuff, rather than just the fat loss or the weight loss. Is people want to, I suppose, live well and live better. And that's definitely something training or the exercise or gym can bring. And something I like to call it or talk about it is as like the everyday life performance stuff. The stuff you do in your day that you may take for granted, but in 5 or whatever years' time may start to become a challenge if we don't keep ourselves strong, moving, agile, powerful, reactive, balanced, all these other little smaller things that kind of get forgotten about in, I suppose, the overall scale of progress. Because progress is such a vast word, and it can mean so many things to so many different people. So like, if you can see the value in that progress and in that, I suppose, relationship between exercises and the stuff you do in everyday life, that's what brings the value. And I suppose a little takeaway from this then is like training to support the life you want to live. And that could be, doing the fun stuff for enjoyment, for a sense of achievement, a social aspect, getting out and meeting people. Like it doesn't always have to be confined to just the four walls of a gym, although that's a great starting place, and I'll always Uh, advocate for people to start in the gym because I love it and I think it's a great foundation and place for people to start. But that's where they can build their knowledge then and expand from. And I suppose this is something within my own coaching, my everyday strong coaching, and this is probably why I've called it that, because this is the approach I want to build and take with it, is that it's building people up to do the stuff, as I say, for the everyday performance, their everyday living that makes life easier to live, especially as we age and get older. And we want to hold on to that independence and as you say, future proofing ourselves for further down the line. And again, it builds that, that body and that mindset for the life you want to live through that. So I just think that's a very different perspective, and it's the way I see a lot of people looking at training and exercise now, as opposed to just the aesthetic side or like the weight loss and fat loss side. And again, that can all come in time when there's good foundations in place. And again, nutrition is another topic within that as well. But for now, we'll just leave it at the gym side of things. So let me know. I'd be always interested to hear people's feedback, what what you're training for. Like why do you train? What uh goals or things within the gym, outside of the gym, are you training for or want to even start training for? Um Let me know, reach out. Always happy to have conversations with people. I think it's really important to see everyone's point of view and have chats about these things. So reach out. You can find me on Instagram, Karen Personal PT. Reach out, have a chat, see if you would like some help with your training and getting yourself started in a different way. Uh, Reach out, we can have a chat, and we'll chat again there next week.